Tired of trying diet after diet without results? Mochi Health offers a long-term weight loss solution personalized to your needs. Our board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians provide expert guidance to help you succeed. Eligible patients can access custom-formulated GLP-1 medication at an affordable set price delivered monthly. Take our free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 for $40 off your first month. That's joinmochi.com.
Kick off summer with Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances and save an extra $50 on every $500 you spend on select major appliances $396 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/28. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to start things off here in just a moment or two, of course, with another great round of Coach's Corner. This is the second Coach's Corner of 2017, and very excited. Got a fantastic super panel of gentlemen on here, and I'm going to introduce them here in just a second, but let me remind everybody that we are live on Thursday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. Central or 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern for those of you on the East Coast, and I believe that's 4 to 6 for those of you under Pacific time. But welcome to the show. The best way to find us is to go to www.blogtalkradio.com, and up in the search key type Golf Talk Live, and that will take you to the main page. And, of course, during the live broadcast, it'll be right there front and center. But for some reason, if you're not able to join us, not to worry. Just go to that link, blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, and you can scroll down to the on-demand section and listen to the recorded version when it's convenient for you. But as always, we're glad for those of you that are able to tune in live, especially enjoy that. And if you want any time during any of the broadcasts, during the live broadcast, you're welcome to call into the show. The number is area code 646-716-4667, or you can reach out to me personally at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And, of course, I update every week on social media, particularly on Facebook and Twitter. So if you go to facebook.com, type in Golf Talk Live blog, that's the page for the show. You'll see the updates of who's going to be on the show that particular week and so forth. And you can also go to Twitter and find out all the good stuff about the show as well. And my Twitter handle is Ted and Buck CEO. CEO, of course, is in capital letters. As I mentioned, I got a great Coach's Corner panel tonight. I got kind of a special Coach's Corner tonight, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. And then a little bit later in the show, after the panel, my very special guest, Anthony Netto, is going to be on. He's the founder of the Stand Up and Play Foundation and Kid Swing International, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that when the show progresses into that second half. But thank you for joining me tonight, as I said, and let me bring on the panel. First up, of course, he's been on the panel many, many times. He comes on several times throughout the year. My good friend, Mr. John Hughes. He's a PGA Master Professional, Vice President of the North Florida PGA Section, and he was the recipient of the PGA of America's Horton Smith Award in 2013, and also a Golf Tips Magazine Top 30 instructor. Peter Egazarian, of course, is joining on the panel. He's been on before as well. He's a Class A PGA member and teacher professional at the Taconic Golf Club in Williamstown. And rounding up the general panel tonight is my good friend also, Mr. Tom Patri. He's considered to be one of Golf Magazine's top 100 teachers in America and has been a leading voice in golf instruction for over 30 years. So lots of great experience on the panel tonight. And then rounding out, last but not least, on the panel is a special guest panelist tonight is Brett Cohen. He's a golf fitness instructor and Fitness Over 50 authority, the founder of New York Golf Fitness Guru. Brett has been involved in the fitness industry for over 17 years and brings lots of experience. And we're going to talk about, which I'll let Brett tell you what we're going to have on the discussion tonight in Coach's Corner. So without further ado, let me bring on the panel Tom, John, Peter, and Brett. Welcome to Coach's Corner and Golf Talk Live. Thanks, guys.
Nice to be here.
Happy New Year, Ted.
Mm-hmm.
Happy New Year.
All right. Happy New Year, all of you. That's right, too. I mean, I know it's well into 2017, but that's right. I forgot to say that off air. Guys, like I said, we've got a special discussion tonight. We're getting ready for a new season for some of you out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just temporarily, I'm going to turn it over to you, Brett, and I know you've got some opening remarks about the discussion tonight and sort of lead us into our discussion.
Sure. Thanks, Ted. It's great to be back on the show. First time this year. I'm honored to be on with such distinguished professionals such as Tom and John and Peter. I know these guys are experts at what they do, teaching golf and coaching golfers. So just to be clear to the listening audience, I do not teach golf. That is the sole domain of the golf pro, the other guests you have on the show tonight. As a golf fitness instructor, I simply assess how a golfer's body works and then how that relates to their golf swing. Then I create an exercise program that will help them move better so they have the physical potential to play golf better. They still need golf instruction. So what I'm here tonight to talk about is how what I do fits into what the golf pros on the show do and how the two together can benefit their students, their business, and the golf industry as a whole.
Perfect. Let's talk about, and I know when we spoke, you and I spoke last night, there's sort of a, much like there is for the golf professionals out there, there's sort of a pre-screening process, if you will, to sort of get the ball rolling, especially with new students. So why don't you talk about that, Brett, real briefly, and then we'll bring the guys in to jump in for some discussion on that, about getting from the fitness side of things. What are some of the things that you do when you first get new students coming in?
Yeah, so from the fitness side, and this is something I want to ask your panelists, if they have a fitness component to their initial assessment of a new student. The fitness side is to do what I call a fitness checkup. Dr. Greg Rose, one of the founders of the Titleist Performance Institute, says, and this is a quote, if you could give just one piece of advice to golfers of all levels, it's to be physically assessed by a competent professional. A well-trained professional can identify key areas of weakness or imbalance and develop a highly effective exercise or rehabilitation program. It's no guarantee that you'll remain injury-free, as the golf swing puts in incredible forces on the body, but it puts the odds in your favor. So the main reason to do that physical assessment or to do that fitness checkup is to identify whether or not that player has risk of injury or what their injury risk potential is, so in order to reduce their risk of injury from play.
Right, and as I mentioned, from the instructional side, we all, of course, especially when we're working with new students, we want to do our own assessment. So, John, talk about a little bit. First off, to sort of answer his question, we'll go with John and then Peter and then Tom. John, do you incorporate some sort of a fitness, or do you work with a fitness instructor at all with what you're doing? And if not, also talk about what sort of a screening process you do for new golfers coming in to get them ready to assess what it is that you're going to help them with.
Again, thanks, Ted, Tom, Brett, Peter. Honored to be with you tonight. The answer to that, Ted, is yes to all. But what I've found over the years, unless somebody's really committed to the game in more ways than one and looking to be competitive, the fitness component, whether it's to get someone fit or to prevent injuries, it's got to be done with some kid gloves, verbally and physically. At least the clientele that I deal with, people are wanting the quick fix and don't necessarily put two and two together. So I will see certain things in swings based on the training that I've had through the fitness professionals that I work with, and we'll come up with some ideas as to what restrictions may be there or may not be there. I'm always asking about impairments, injuries, other things that may inhibit somebody from making certain movements. But to give you an example, if I know someone's having a hard time turning the hips, they may have glute problems or hamstring problems, one of the simplest things I do is ask someone to put their legs together, lock the knees, and try to bend over and touch your toes. And that very simple exercise can tell me what kind of physical strength their lower body's in, what kind of stability they have, what kind of flexibility they have. There's other smaller things that I'll do along that line, and what I try to do is customize it, again, to the individual. When I've got somebody who's super committed, then yeah, I'm referring them to a fitness professional like Brett, and I work with several around the country based on where my clientele are.
Right. Peter, let me ask you the same question to you. First off, do you sort of incorporate either through your own efforts, or as John just eloquently pointed out, that he has somebody that he's working with, or a number of people he's working with on the fitness side of things? Do you do sort of your own assessment with some of the golfers that you're working with, or what do you do? And then also about getting them ready for the season, what do you do, especially for new golfers? What sort of assessment do you do?
Yes to all, I would say. It depends on the context of the relationship, but all of my long-term coaching people, I do a lot of that during the season and actually in the off-season as well. Go and see my fitness professional first. We do an on-course assessment. I get a good idea of where their game is. I do ask about and I ask a lot of questions, never mind just about their body, but and then they go see my fitness professional, who's a Gray Institute speaker on a regular basis and an NG360 person. And then she gets back to me and gives me a full report, and then we move forward. We put together a nice plan for them, and they have the option to see her again if they choose to. We have a great relationship. It's worked out very, very well. This coming year, she will be at our supervised practice program, which is on Saturdays for 2 hours once a month as a resource, and primarily just to put that component out there as much as possible, I would say, with her schedule. I do that as well here in Williamstown, and I have an indoor facility where I collaborate with a larger PT firm in northern Connecticut. So I would say
fantastic.
It's heavily involved, and the desire for me to know their cause and effect is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Right. Well said.
I see a lot of people that just want, especially in my academic environment, being on a college campus, any of the people that maybe associate with the college, students, or actually in the summer we see an influx of seasonal people that are very wellness conscious and are more so there doing programs with me and as well as our fitness professional to just enhance their quality of life as well as playing well and having more fun. Right.
I agree 100%. Tom, I know that you work with a variety of different level of players, from the beginner up to some of the seasoned professionals out there. Do you coordinate or work with a fitness instructor of any kind in your wheelhouse? And also, what do you look for particularly when new students come in, but also your regular students that come back each season? Is there anything specific that you look for from the physical standpoint to ensure that they're going to be successful out in the golf course?
Yeah, sure, Ted. Actually, first of all, Ted, thanks for having us on, and thanks for having me on with such a great group of professionals. And Brett, it's great to meet you as well. In both my southern location, Ted, and my
Tired of trying diet after diet without results? Mochi Health offers a long-term weight loss solution personalized to your needs. Our board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians provide expert guidance to help you succeed. Eligible patients can access custom-formulated GLP-1 medication at an affordable set price delivered monthly. Take our free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 for $40 off your first month. That's joinmochi.com.
two northern locations, I have access to and use quite frequently a level 3 TPI person to do evaluations. Just like Brett was so clear that he didn't teach golf, I don't teach fitness, and I don't think I'm versed enough, although my background has provided me information, I feel like turning those people over to a real expert is important. So obviously when I see deficiencies or during the interview process, I ask about prior injury or illness or deficiencies of any kind. I recommend that these people go and get assessed for sure in all those locations. It's so true. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Some people are willing to participate, some aren't. The ones that are not, the ones that are not willing to participate, I make it very, very clear to them that I have a wall that I can take them to, and then when we get to that wall, right, I probably can't take them any further. I want to be very clear to them that there is a constrainment that if they're not going to participate in some kind of program to make themselves either more fit, more flexible, more stable, more balanced, or stronger, or any combination of those things, that I can only take them so far. I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer in TPI. I'm a big believer in the flexibility and balance aspect. And I don't think, I think like John said, enough people really understand how serious it is, or how serious it may be for them to improve, fit on that side of the block, if you will, and get fit.
Yeah, I agree as well. And let me just say I couldn't have assembled a better panel for this topic tonight than all of you guys. Great answers,
it sounds
guys.
Like it, yeah.
And I do realize, obviously, and as Brett alluded to in the beginning, obviously you guys are on the instructional side, but what impressed me, I think, the most is the very beginning answer of your answers tonight was that you recognize generally how important the fitness component is. And obviously, as John pointed out, and Peter and Tom, that not everybody is a willing participant. So Brett, I just want you to just sort of, again, in layman terms, if you will, explain the importance of what these guys just said, why it's important for the students out there. Let's talk about the students for a second. Why it's important for them to, incorporate some sort of fitness routine, and we can do that maybe about a pregame warm-up routine. And why it's important to do that. But why? Some of the misconceptions, I guess, is a better way to put it, because a lot of people, as John alluded to, they're hearing fitness and they're, oh Lord, I got to go into this big, routine. Explain to them what the difference between a regular sort of workout routine and golf fitness.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something I get asked quite a bit when I introduce myself as a golf fitness instructor to a layperson who has no idea what fitness is or what golf is. So first, let me draw the distinction between what the average person is thinking of fitness is typically based on having a well-defined body, big muscles, a lean body, or maybe even someone that has a large aerobic capacity. So they'll say a marathon runner or a cyclist may be fit. But those are narrow and very incomplete definitions of what fitness means, and it certainly does not necessarily apply to being fit for golf. So the ultimate goal of golf fitness is to make you a better golfer. It's not necessarily the pursuit of a better looking body, but the pursuit of a better functioning body. It's having the physical ability to be able to get into the position to deliver a powerful and consistent golf swing with the minimal risk of injury. And as your other guests alluded to, it typically takes more flexibility, mobility, and stability than the average amateur comes in with for lessons. Those are the qualities they're lacking.
Go ahead. I think somebody wanted to ask a question.
Sure. No, I just said amen, Ted. This is Tom. I just thought, Brett's comments there were right on, and I just think that, people don't realize what it really takes to make a functional golf swing. I think the layman out there doesn't understand the risk of injury, first of all, as Brett has alluded to several times, and then the amount of core strength, the amount of stability needed to deliver a compressed golf shot. So I think this is a very valuable conversation.
Right. Let me ask you, and let me just jump in here real quick, Brett, and then I want you to sort of lay out, if you will, and I know that these guys are seasoned enough, they've been around the game enough, they know from their own aspects what some good warm-up routines are and that are going to help, but I want you to sort of lay the groundwork. But I want to go Peter, Tom, and then John. I want to ask you this question. what are some of the areas that you have noticed? Again, I know we're not fitness experts, but what are some of the areas that you've personally seen that people are struggling with? Is it their stability? Is it upper or core strength, or what areas have you noticed, Peter? Oh, I'm not sure. Peter, are you still with us?
I don't hear Peter.
Sorry, I accidentally muted. I muted myself. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Not a problem.
Sorry.
All right. Let me. I don't. Did you hear my question, or do I need to repeat it?
No, I did. I'd say really what it depends is really looking at our sedentary lifestyle. I see a lot of lower chain stuff where people have a really hard time interacting with the ground in an efficient way, and the ability to push off and utilize the ground to help control low point or do various things in the swing we're trying to do. And I see just a ton of really tight hip flexors and early extension that really leads to really poor quality of contact.
Yeah, I agree with Peter. That's the main struggle that the average amateur has. The sedentary lifestyle is ruining the body. That's not going to go away anytime soon. And those tight hip flexors will cause the glutes to become weak and immobile. That's going to limit their ability to make good ground contact, to initiate the swing from the lower body, to keep those hips from early extending or moving towards the target line just a little too early.
Totally
John, what about
agree, and I'll add the hamstrings into that. I mean, each tight hip flexors, poor glute engagement, and then with no hamstring strength or flexibility, it's hard to maintain balance and posture with the combination. It's a deadly combination when it comes to the average amateur.
Something for you guys to be thinking about and looking at when we talk about hamstring flexibility. The reason why a lot of people present with tight hamstrings is because of the other two things we just mentioned. The hip flexors will shut off the glutes. The glutes and the hamstrings work together as a team to extend or straighten the hip. So if someone presents with tight hamstrings, it's just a symptom of those other two dysfunctions. So I have to, when I'm trying to make a golfer move better, I have to address all of those issues. It's not just stretch the hamstrings, because that doesn't solve our problem. It's actually get the hip flexors to loosen up so I can activate the glutes, which will downregulate the hamstrings.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, Tom, before I bring Tom in here to add some comments as well. Explain, if you will, Brett, to the golfers out there. I'm going to give you an example. Maybe you can explain. I mean, I know you can't see the golfer, so that you're going to go from your experience, but something that I've seen, and I'm sure all the guys have seen over the years, is particularly golfers coming out of posture. I'll give you an example. I was working with somebody here. In fact, I'm still working with him, but one of the issues that he had very, very early on is in his backswing. First off, he would overextend, and it would actually come out of posture. And then as he was coming in the downswing, he would, drop down in his swing in order to get back down to the ball. What traditionally causes that type of movement? Is it a lack of flexibility in the hamstrings, or what areas? Because that's a common thing, I think, people coming in and out of posture. And is that just because of poor flexibility, or what are traditionally some of the causes, Brett?
Yeah, so the term flexibility and mobility we're going to put together because they are related to each other. When we talk about mobility, it's really referring to a joint or a segment or a series of joints. So what causes someone to come out of posture invariably is going to be a lack of hip mobility, flexibility, and thoracic spine mobility. So thoracic spine, for those who don't know, is part of your spine where your rib cage lives. If you go back to the sedentary lifestyle, that's one of the side effects of being in a chair all day long. So the vast majority of golfers I work with are sitting 8 to 10 hours a day, and they'd be doing so for decades. And that changes the way the body moves. So they're lacking hip mobility and thoracic spine mobility. It makes it impossible to rotate the shoulder girdle, and the spine over a fixed hip, which is what's required to get into the backswing. And that causes them to either sway, to stand up too early, create a flat shoulder plane. Any one of those postural aberrations can result from poor hip and thoracic spine mobility.
Right. Tom, let me ask you, thank you for that. Tom, let me ask you, again, as I mentioned earlier, I know that you deal with a wide spectrum, young, old, professional, amateur golfers and that. What do you do in a case where, as John pointed out earlier, that, some people just, they don't want to get on the fitness train, they don't, either have time or they don't. How do you, as a golf professional, do you try to work around with what you've got? In other words, you've got a lump of clay in front of you. You've got a mold that the person's not overly fit, but you got to work. As you said, you take them to that wall. But what can you do to help some of these golfers to get the best out of their game when you're faced with that scenario?
Ted, the proverbial word there was lump. So I have a gentleman that comes to me and he calls the Grand Slam of golf in Florida, and John will relate to this, and Ted, you being in Florida, you'll relate to this too. He calls the Grand Slam of golf, lunch, and a nap. So
yeah.
when you deal with the recreational player in Florida, and a lot of our clients, I'm sure John, the same for you, and Ted for you, a lot of our clients are 55 and older. To motivate them to change their lifestyle is a daunting task, and I make it very clear to them. Everybody wants to buy a golf game. They're going to pay for a lesson. They're going to buy a $500 driver, and it's all going to work out. Well, we all know how untrue that is. So I have a tremendous luxury, and I think that you either love Tom Patri or you hate him because of the following. Tom Patri will say to you, guess what? If you're not going to participate in this segment of your improvement, as AKA fitness, then I cannot help you, and I don't want your check. Because I feel like if I take that check, guys, I'm actually stealing. I'm not earning, because I'm not being really honest. It's so refreshing, a panel like this, to have these professionals on board that really get it today and understand the human body and how it functions or doesn't function, and how they can provide information to the person who really cares to improve. Because without the Bretts of the world, really, I'm really useless. I really feel that way, that I'm really useless. My information is useless without having a Brett on my team. This is not going to work out for this person. It's just not going to work. Whether it's the flexibility or mobility or stability of a male, or it's the lack of strength and the lack of the ability, for example, for a female to use the ground properly, my message is not going to work. It's going to fall on deaf ears. So I think we have a real responsibility as golf professionals, as PGA members, to really educate the person who comes to our tee that, listen, folks, you need to get involved with this segment of the game.
Yeah.
I totally agree, Tom. Totally. And again, I'll speak on behalf of Ted and you. Probably the vast majority of people we do teach in Florida are of that stereotypic 55 and older. I'm sort of wondering what the fourth segment of the Grand Slam is. Is it a scotch or a wine? But the whole idea behind trying to, I actually have to start tricking people into their fitness, because the more I talk to them about it, the less likely they're listening to me, because not necessarily they're trying to buy the swing. They're so fixated on what the ball does. I've got to take total value out of the ball and transfer it into their body. So I'll end up tricking them into certain things. I'll show them things they can do within their current lifestyle. And for Brett, I'll use this example. If someone's sitting in a caster chair, if you just place your arms on your desk and start turning your hips, that's going to help your golf game. Don't just sit there idle. Turn your hips. Get the separation of upper and lower body going, and that's going to help your golf game. And you can do that once every couple hours for a few minutes, and all of a sudden, wow, not only is my golf game better, my lifestyle's better. I've got better overall lifestyle posture. And people are just totally amazed at how simple it can be, and it only takes 3 or 4 minutes a day at minimum when you get into the more competitive people, and Tom can probably vouch for this, yeah, you need that fitness professional to educate us. We need to educate our players. But it's also, I agree, I know enough to be dangerous. I've got to be able to pass them off to a Brett so they can get that kind of education. But it is tricking. I mean, let's face it, if you can't trick the person into it or be just as blunt as Tom is, and I am quite often, I say it a little bit differently. I just tell them, hey, if you really want everything out of what I'm providing you, you've got to take a more active part in yourself.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Brett, I want you to, for the guys and for the audience out there, I'd like for you to just talk about, maybe give us some examples. John pointed out a great one there for those that are stuck at a desk for 8 hours or so a day. The art of learning a pregame warm-up routine. What are some things that they can do? I know you can't physically show us, but maybe you can give us some examples that I'm sure these guys may be already incorporating in their lessons and that, but maybe some things that the folks out there that are tuning in tonight can take away from tonight's panel.
Sure. I'd be happy to. I know this has been mentioned a few times. Most of the golfers that they're working with are over 55. In fact, the majority of my clients here in New York are over 55 as well. So here's the result of aging is an increased joint stiffness and loss of connective tissue and muscle elasticity, which of course results in a loss of overall flexibility. That's the number one reason golfers come to me, is they say, I need more flexibility for golf. So part of the warm-up, of course, is to improve overall flexibility, and I start by improving tissue quality. So what that essentially means is we take a tool, my favorite tool, especially for the golf course, is a massage stick known as a tiger's tail. It's 18 to 22 inches, has a handle on each side and neoprene covering, and you use that tool to create pressure against your muscles and fascia. And what that does over a few minutes of time and pressure, it just increases blood flow and elasticity. So that's the first step. That precedes stretching, which is the next step, a dynamic stretch routine. The dynamic stretch routine is stretching multiple muscle groups that cross multiple joints in movement patterns for a short period of time, just a few seconds. So you simply move in and out of a stretch repetitively to loosen up. And then the very last stage is a plyometric exercise, which starts to prepare the nervous system for activity. We know golf is a power sport. It takes the average golf pro, I think, and you guys can tell me if I'm got this number right, about a quarter of a second from the top of the backswing to impact. So the club is moving very fast, and that requires fast twitch muscle fiber, which, of course, we lose as we get older. So the last part of my warm-up process is a plyometric exercise to upregulate the nervous system. This is all preceding what the golf pros would recommend as the swing progressions they would get into next.
Right. And Peter, once you lead us off with that, maybe talk about some of the things that you get your students to do as part of a pre-warm-up. Brett's just given us an idea of, and I'm sure any of the fitness instructors that you're working with probably do very similar, or maybe even have some other things. But what about on the golf course or on the practice tee when you're getting them to warm up? Is there anything specific you like to get your students to do before they're hitting balls?
I mean, absolutely. I end up having my fitness professional take everybody through a warm-up routine right in the beginning of the year, so that we have kind of a meeting, we get together, and she takes them through. And basically what she's looking to have them do is prepare their body to stabilize and rotate. Various things with glutes, a lot of primarily step-out lunges with some type of rotation, just preparing the lower chain to activate, and a lot. And there's a little bit of upper chain, a little upper back, but again, I leave it up to her. I trust her completely, and I that's why she comes very much in the beginning and gives people things to do in a good warm-up routine.
Right. John, what about yourself? What are some things that you like to, again, obviously if you're deferring to some of your fitness instructors for the physical, pre-screening, if you will, but is there anything on the practice tree that you try to get your students to do to in a general warm-up?
The first time out, I want to see what they do to warm up, and I think the rest of the panel will agree with us. You see a whole lot. You see some things you've never thought of before, but I want to see what they do again. Right. I want to see what they do first, and what I'll do is I'll work backwards into that. When they're finished that first time, I'm actually having them warm down versus warm up. And as you get older, we lose a lot of sight. I think Brett will agree with us on the warm down. As much as it's important to warm up, it's just as important as you get older, maybe even more so to warm down. So by the time they come for the second one, as I've seen them, as I've asked them, hey, can you touch your toes? Can you turn this way? Can you do certain things with your elbows and your shoulders? As they warm up that second time, I'm throwing things in there for them to do exactly what Brett had talked about. Let's get joints and muscles, especially the lower part of the body, engaged and ready to make that transition from bottom to top to back to bottom. And then what are you doing to activate the nervous system from the fast twitch things? What explosive things can I get them to do? And it's going to vary based on the person, what they are capable of. I don't want to push them. My liability insurance has a cap on it, and I don't want to use it all with one person. But you got to go about it gingerly and be able to have somebody understand, hey, this is important. And the first time, I'm just going to let them do it because normally after the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, they're worn out after that first time, and once I'll let them get in that worn out state, as Ted said, putty in my hands, so I can then sort of tell them the value behind a good warm up.
Yeah, I agree, and thank you for that. Tom, now I know that you, again, I know you defer to, as the others do, to a fitness professional to get into more in-depth things, but I know that you have some things that you want to have your students that you're working with, regardless of age, do before they get out there and really start, before you start to really work them in the process. What are some things that you try to do or encourage your students to do when they're on the lesson tee?
Well, Ted, at the risk of John, I'm kidding when I say this, calling me blunt again. About 3 or 4 years ago, I started putting out a series of stretch devices on my tee in the morning, amongst all my teaching aids and toys: a stretch mat, a stretch bar, an orange whip, a swing fan, a weighted club, and a number of other things. And I put it in a position on the tee every day that when they came to me for a lesson, they had to basically trip over it to get to me. So for about the first 2 or 3 weeks, as my regulars came and they stepped over these things and around them, about the third week I'd say to them when they showed up, I'd say, "Did you trip on that? Did you trip on that TheraBand back there? Did you step over that mat? What do you think it's there for? What do you think? Is it? You think it's a lawn decoration or something?" So then I'd turn around, I'd put them on the mat, and I'd have them go through a series of stretches with me and say, and it might last 10 or 12 or 15 minutes into their 1 hour lesson. And then I'd say, okay, let's get them swing the club a little bit. And they say, boy, this feels so much easier all of a sudden. I said, imagine if you did that. Imagine if you actually did that every day and you came to the tee first. It was a 15-minute process where you kind of, you did certain things before you hit that first golf shot. You think it would be more productive. It's amazing to me that you can put the tools and the toys right in front of them, and they'll step over or around it. So God bless you, John. Keep trying. I will too.
Tom, you were too cryptic the first 3 weeks.
What's that?
You were too cryptic the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm an idiot, is what I am.
No. Let me just because I want to keep this moving so we get through some of the other topics tonight. Obviously, working hand in hand from the fitness side of things, and Brett, I'll let you start this off as well. But let's talk about the nutritional side as well. In conjunction with good fitness, we want to make sure that people are eating. That glass of wine that John was talking about it might be great for after the round, but it's not something that they want to have before the round. So what are some good nutritional basics and tips that we can give the guys here in the panel, but also they can relay to their students, hopefully encourage them to eat a little bit better, which will help with their fitness side as well?
Yeah, I'm sure the golf pros on the panel have some basic nutrition education. So what it really comes down to is this, right? If we're having trouble with flexibility, which is the average amateur's problem, the first part of nutrition starts with hydration. Since the body is made up of mostly water, 60 to 70% water, your brain is 80% water, it's really important to be hydrated, and that starts first thing in the morning when you wake up. So a basic guideline is going to be for someone to drink half their body weight in ounces of water per day and up to 25% of that number when they first get out of bed before they finish breakfast. Yeah. So if you're 200 pounds, you want to consume 100 ounces of water throughout the day. If you're in Florida, it's really hot and you're sweating a lot, that number's going to go up. But that is the guideline. So it's a really simple number to remember. Just divide your body weight in half, and that's how many ounces of water you should be drinking a day. Most people are not drinking that much water, which means they're chronically dehydrated. So it's going to be hard to get the flexibility that they want if they're not drinking enough water. So nutrition starts with hydration. That's the first thing you should be doing. Second is go ahead. You had a question?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. The next thing they want to be aware of is controlling blood sugar, right? So that's going to be the key for the overall health and performance on the golf course, is controlling blood sugar, which controls your hormones, your mood, and your strength levels, and all that starts with breakfast, which is what they should be doing first thing upon waking up, drinking water and eating breakfast, and that breakfast needs to include protein and fat. That's going to come from eggs, bacon, and etc.
Right. Yeah. The reason why I wanted to have you talk about some of these things tonight, Brett, was, a lot of people might be listening in and think, well, I knew all that or I understand it, but you'd be surprised. And guys, please chime in, all three of you. We know we see a lot of bad habits, especially here. I can attest here in Florida. People eating all kinds of stuff out in the golf course. Cute little cart girl comes by and they're scarfing down a couple of hot dogs and maybe a beer or two or what have you, and that's certainly not going to be conducive. And it's important. Nutrition is equally as important to fitness. So, Peter, let me go to you here and give you an opportunity to start off first. I know you can't twist somebody's arm on what to eat, but do you try to encourage your students as well to be a little bit more nutritionally sound?
No.
Very blunt.
I'll be real honest. No, I you know what? I have a few professionals that I coach and a couple of competitive amateurs that have taken it upon themselves, but I don't enter that aspect of their life because truthfully, I'm not going to move that needle. That's a choice of their own.
Right.
I can mention it. I can say everything that Brett was just talking about. I can help them prepare to perform as well as they can. But I'm not going to. I mean, I'm no different, and I'm in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, and my seasonal people are coming from where you guys are in Florida. And there's nothing stopping me from them enjoying their 18 holes and then having a beer and fries and a wrap of some kind after, and then going over their friend's house and having, cocktails and hors d'oeuvres and whatever they want. There's nothing.
Right.
They have to make that choice. And even the people that are even in the 15 years, the people that are most committed are going to, over the course of the summer, it's a very social time. And just like you guys in Florida, where the winter is very social, they're not going to turn down an opportunity to socialize for the sake of their golf game being better. It's just, and I hate to say it for Brett's sake, because he's, everybody's, on Brett's end is working really hard to help educate people, and they're saying that definitely they're 100% correct.
Right.
But it ends up coming down to their choice, and we can tell them all they want, but most of the time they're going to wake up late. They're going to eat something as quickly as possible that is most likely processed and not good for them.
Yeah.
And run to the golf course as quickly and humanly as possible, and run to the tee and maybe do a few things that someone like Brett or myself had showed them to get just loose enough where they can make contact within the first tee. I mean, it's just in the Northeast, that's how it really goes down in a realistic sense. I'd love to say
that's definitely the norm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the norm. And John and Tom, I'm sure you would both agree. I agree with you, Peter. It's tough. I mean, I think you want to be able to you don't want to get, as you point out, Peter, you don't want to get in their business and telling them how they should live their lives. But I think to go against the argument of some of the folks out there that don't have maybe some good habits, they want to, I think, Tom, you had mentioned earlier about, some of these golfers wanting to play better, but they don't want to do some of the necessary steps in order to improve their game. They just want a sort of a quick fix. And John, I know you've mentioned this many times on the show as well, but Tom, let me start with you, and then John, anything that you do to try and encourage them to be a little bit more diligent in their nutritional side of things, or are you pretty much like Peter and it's a no deal?
This is kind of it's kind of, to be honest with you guys, it's kind of freaky that we're doing this topic tonight, because just today, actually this past week I had an epiphany. I'm 58 years old, and I kind of looked in the mirror and said, you know what, we're going in the wrong direction here. And I'm in the middle right now of a 10-day juice fast, veggie juice fast. And
better stay away from you.
If I seem a little ornery, it's because I haven't eaten anything. I've been drinking this green juice for about I don't know, God knows how long right now. It's going to go on for 10 more days. Because I felt like when I looked in the mirror, and I still like to play a little competitive senior golf, that I was going in the wrong direction myself. So this fast will end in 10 days, and I will then, behind that, change my menu day to day. I then, at the very same time, alongside this and parallel to this, blown up one of the rooms of my house and put in a row machine, a treadmill, and some various stretching devices, because I made a commitment that I couldn't teach and preach what I was preaching without doing some of it myself. So I basically just this week taken some radical steps to turn that ship around.
Congratulations, Tom.
That's great.
That's awesome stuff.
Wow. Boys, don't say congratulations yet, because I might kill myself in the next 4 days.
Or turn green.
Well, just hold on for another 10 minutes, Tom, and then then you're welcome to take whatever steps you need.
That's very encouraging.
Tom, I mean, Tom, what you said about practicing what you're preaching. Once I got TPI certified, I did the same thing. I dropped 30 pounds just because I'm sitting there looking in the mirror. I said, how can I tell somebody, this is a great thing for them if I'm looking how I look? So
I really agree, and I felt the same exact way. I'm close to 30 overweight right now, and that's I've had enough of that nonsense, and it's going to stop. So we're going to start right now.
The green shakes are great. I still have them.
The best way is to lead by example, and you guys are leading by example. That's really commendable.
Yeah, Tom, I congratulate you simply because you recognize it. I'm a similar story. Back when I won the Horton Smith, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, I can't stand up in front of 2,000 peers and give an acceptance speech looking like that, and I proceeded to lose 68 pounds in 4.5 months. It was a lot of workout. It was a lot of diet.
Good for you.
I still struggle with that. I go see an endocrinologist 3 or 4 times a year to keep blood sugar correct. And what, from the original question that Ted asked, I'm sort of the hybrid. I'm not going to jump in someone's business, but I'll have people come for 3 or 4 days, and if I can drop a hint here or there, or tell my own personal story, and then they get it, hey, because I made some changes, I was able to do this. If it inspires them, great. But that's all I can really do is inspire them, as Tom's saying, hey, just, lead by example. So I've actually made a recommitment the first of the year. I cut out the soft drinks, cut out anything white in my diet, and it's paying dividends.
Yeah.
Good for you, bro.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, let me just add this, and I want the folks out there that are listening to the broadcast tonight. I don't want them to misunderstand really what we're talking about here tonight. We're not trying to force anything on the players out there, but I think there's been and this has been going on for quite some time, for many years now, and I think that a lot of golfers have become frustrated because they're not maybe improving, and they're looking for reasons why, and some are blaming the instructor, some are blaming the club, so they go out and, as Tom put earlier, spending $500 on a new driver, thinking that's going to find the magical elixir. But the truth of the matter is, there's many components to becoming a good golfer. It's not just about understanding the swing and getting a little white ball down the field or down the fairway, but it's about taking care of yourself and putting that effort in. And I think we've all seen examples over the last decade or so where whether it be time restrictions or what have you. So really what we're trying to do here tonight, folks, is we're getting ready in most of the United States and even in Canada. We're getting through that winter thaw, some earlier than others, and it's going to be time to get back out there for those of you that don't have access to an indoor facility. And we want you to prepare yourselves, not just go out to the first tee and just start hitting balls and there's things, obviously, taking lessons and practicing all areas of your game. We want you to get out there, but we want you to be a little bit more conscious. That doesn't mean you can't have a burger and fries during the day, but try to eat a little bit better, as Brett put at the beginning of the day. Get a decent breakfast if you can. Drink lots of water. Get yourself well hydrated before you go out there, and give yourself a good fighting chance. And then also do the physical side, as Brett alluded to earlier, and Tom letting people trip on those mats. Get those mats out there and get people doing some stuff. I mean, gosh, I don't know how many times, and guys, I'm sure you can all attest to this. You get somebody out there, and the other thing too is they don't practice enough. You'll give them a great lesson, and then you maybe seeing them a couple of weeks down the road, and they've done absolutely nothing to work on those fundamentals. So folks, if you want to become better player, you've got to put that effort in, and you've got to make that time and commitment, as we've all talked about tonight. As I said, guys, we're coming down to the last few minutes, so I want to – sorry, go ahead. Somebody wanted to – I thought I heard somebody say my name. Sorry. I'm going to go through in this order: John, Peter, Tom, and then Brett. Give you guys an opportunity to share with the folks a little bit about yourself and where they can reach out if they're interested in learning more about what it is that you have to offer, websites and that sort of thing. So, John, go ahead and you can start.
Sure, and again, fellas, an honor and pleasure. Ted, a very valuable conversation. I would tell people, the way I sum it up is this way. It was mentioned earlier, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. We as golf professionals represent that lake. You've got to bring yourself to the lake and drink from it, and we'll be willing to hydrate you all you want, but we can't even get you to the lake. It's not our responsibility nor us to motivate you to do that. We can inspire you to do it, but you've got to be motivated to do it. And this was a fantastic into the season kind of discussion, and I appreciate everybody's comments about it. You can find me, johnhughesgolf.com. I'm at Falcons Fire Golf Club. Shout out to Ryan and the staff there. They take wonderful care of me. Course is in great shape. Do a lot of vacation golf schools. Have quite a big clientele following that I'm real happy about and proud of. Being there 3 years now. You can reach me through johnhughesgolf.com or john@johnhughesgolf.com. My phone number's there too. And Brett, I've got 2 extra rooms here. So if you ever want to come need any muscles and fascia, bring you and an assistant. You can take care of my wife, and the assistant can take care of me, and I'll make the eggs and bacon.
Very good. That sounds like a great plan. I love it.
Peter, go ahead and let the folks know. Thank you, John, as always. Peter, go ahead and let the folks know if they want to reach out to you.
Yeah, again, great. Thanks for having me, Ted, and great input from everybody on the panel tonight. I appreciate all your input, and I agree. It's a great conversation for us to have leading into the outdoor season in the Northeast and the North. But yeah, I'm primarily a long-term coach. I try to do long-term programs. I do meet with people during the season on an individual basis at Taconic Golf Club. We're right on the campus of Williams College, so I'm very fortunate to have a lot of support from everybody there. Yeah, people can reach me at Daily Golf Coach is pretty much every handle I have across Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And they can reach me at dailygolfcoach@gmail.com. Just great to be here. Thanks for having me, Ted.
Well, as always, Peter, thank you for joining. I know you're going to be, as John is, you're going to be coming on some other panel discussions, and I appreciate your input as always as well. Tom, please let the folks know how they can reach out to you as well.
Ted, thanks for having me, and thanks for including me with these guys. I don't know any of these guys personally, but I certainly hope in the future we all cross paths. It was fun being on. I'm in paradise in Naples, Florida. We don't have any Mickey Mouse down here, John. We're just great beaches and great food.
That's fine.
As
long as you're drinking green drinks, you can stay right there.
I'm at www.tompatri.com, and then I'm floating around on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those places too. And if you need to get warm and get out of the cold, this is a great place to visit. Thank you so much for having me, Ted.
You're welcome. And last but not least, my special guest panelist tonight, Brett Cohen. Brett?
Thanks, Tom, and all the guests. I was happy to hear everyone is on the same level, and we all agree that wellness and fitness and golf all belong together in the same conversation. So as a golf fitness coach and holistic lifestyle coach, my main objective is to keep golfers healthy. When you keep golfers healthy, they keep playing golf longer, and that's good for business and it's good for the game. So that's my objective is to educate them and help them. We can't lead a horse to water, but if they need the help and they want the help, I'm here to help them. I can be reached at www.nygolffitnessguru.com. And then I have a special message for any of the golfers that are listening in tonight. If they contact me through the website, I will send them my new How to Warm Up for Golf guide and video, which is due to be released next week. So they're welcome to have it.
Perfect. Well, guys, again, as always, I appreciate it. John, Peter, Tom, and Brett, thank you very much for giving of your time for the show, and I agree wholeheartedly with everybody. I think it was a great conversation tonight. I appreciate everybody's input as always into the program, and I know that the audience tuning in each and every week enjoy the discussions here on the Coach's Corner panel. So thank you, guys. I look forward to you all joining me again in the future as a guest, but also as a panelist as well. So, guys, have a great weekend. Tom, bless your heart, as they say here in the South. Keep drinking that green juice, and I hope you feel better. And I promise you, I'm not going to tell you I'm having a steak this weekend. But anyways, God bless, brother.
Oh, have a Ted, don't do that, Ted.
I'm only teasing. I won't. I specifically won't have one now, just because I said that. So I'm going to negate having that this weekend. But anyways, guys, thank you very much as always. Have a great weekend, and I thank you for coming on Golf Talk Live tonight.
Good night,
everybody.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was the special Coach's Corner panel tonight. A great bunch of guys, John Hughes, Peter Egazarian, Tom Patri, and, of course, Brett Cohen. Great guys on the panel tonight. We're really trying to get everybody ready for the upcoming season here, particularly in some of the areas like the northeastern part of the United States and even northwestern parts where it's still a little bit cool out there, and some of you folks maybe don't have access to an indoor facility to work out or don't have the opportunity to come down here in the sunny southern part of the United States, in Florida in particular, where we've got some great locations and opportunities to play some golf. So I hope the tips helped you a little bit. Again, it was kind of a fitness and nutrition light conversation. We weren't trying to get too heavy. And I can't emphasize enough, talk to your teacher professional that you're working with. Most of them nowadays are working with some sort of golf fitness instructor. Either they have it on staff or they have connected with. And it's certainly a good idea to get sort of a pre-screening at the beginning of the season, just to see what areas maybe that you can work on. I think the misconception is everybody thinks, well, I belong to a gym and I go and work out, 3, 4, 5 times a week, thinking that's good. Golf fitness and general fitness are two entirely different things, and that's where a great golf instructor or golf fitness instructor rather can help you with that assessment. So it's worthwhile doing, and of course go and see one of the great gentlemen that were on here tonight if you're in that area, or at least reach out to them through their website. Maybe they can give you some great tips to help your golf game in general. Moving on, I've got a great guest joining me tonight. He is the founder of the Stand Up and Play Foundation and Kids Swing International. His name is Anthony Netto, and he's going to be joining me here. Let me just tell you a little bit about Anthony's story, and then we'll bring him on and we'll get into our discussion here in the second half of the show. Anthony Netto, as I said, is my guest. He's the founder of the Stand Up and Play Foundation and Kids Swing International. And after being injured in Africa, he founded the two organizations and has been, for over 25 years, has a track record within the adaptive sports community, and we'll explain a little bit what that exactly means. Anthony's dedication to an active lifestyle and his belief that anybody can lead a healthy life despite their physical limitations has been proven time and time again. He travels throughout the country working with different organizations and community centers, rehab hospitals, and golf courses to promote active standing therapy programs. We'll talk to him about that as well. And as he points out, he lives in Nevada, California, Florida, Nebraska, Washington, D.C., or anywhere that the foundation needs him at any given time. And due to the large amount of wounded since 9/11, as well as the Vietnam, he has had to concentrate his work with various wounded programs to provide equipment that is so badly needed and that is still not being supplied by the VA. So I'm going to bring Anthony on here, and we'll continue our conversation. Good evening, Anthony, and welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Hi there. Good evening. I'm in California.
Well, you're quite welcome. I appreciate and thank you for taking the time to come on the show tonight. Let me start off first, and I guess state the obvious. In your intro, you mentioned about being injured. Explain first off a little bit about your background and how you became injured and where you're at today, and then we'll get into some discussion about the foundation and some of the great work you're doing there.
Okay, without going into too much detail, I was injured in the military, and 5 years later, which actually put me in a wheelchair, but I was using braces and a back brace and special crutches. But what actually really put me in the full-time wheelchair was a car accident 5 years later in South Africa. And I ended up being from a paraplegic to a quadriplegic, which is the neck injury that obviously took away the arms, and that obviously made my ability to move with the braces and back braces more difficult. So at the end of the day, I just ended, the wheelchair had to be a full-time, way of transport or means of transport. And unfortunately, golf carts were fine. My buddies used to help me get out the cart. I'd stand up with these special braces, hit the ball, sometimes fall over, and then they'd pick me up and throw me back in the cart and we go on. Unfortunately, with not being able to do that anymore, we ended up saying, come on, there must be another way of doing this without, falling over all the time. So we ended up working with a few friends and buddies, and we designed what we call today the Paramobile, otherwise nicknamed the Paragolfer, because it's a very special type of wheelchair frame that stands up almost literally like the stand-up frames you'd get in hospital. And we made that, mobile and obviously a lot more comfortable and a lot more stronger and usable friendly as well, because medical equipment is great to a certain degree, but the user himself or herself has to actually do it on a regular basis. And it's not comfortable standing at all because everything pulls and it's uncomfortable and sore. And it's like doing a stretch. But the problem is your body's fighting to do exactly the opposite, and that's you'd like to be curl up in a ball, and this is trying to make you stand up straight. And so we decided how to, I'd say, distract ourselves and have fun at the same time as doing what's so important for us. And that was then finding a way, and golf was a perfect opportunity.
Right, and as I mentioned in the intro. And as most of us here in the U.S. know, with all of the
brothers and sisters being injured,
brothers and sisters that in the military that have that are coming back, and some may not be quite to the same extent that you are, but certainly have various different injuries and so forth. Many of them who played golf before being deployed. Maybe are looking for ways to sort of rekindle that passion, but might be struggling. So this is essentially, if I'm correct, one of the reasons why you started the Stand Up and Play Foundation. Is that correct? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. We started, you probably noticed I am originally from the other side of the pond, or further south, actually. I was born in South Africa, Cape Town, and we then moved to Europe, and because of the military, I was 20 years in Europe, out of Europe, and that's where I initially got, was my base, and so we started over there. I also ended up coming over here because of my friends that I'd, met over the years, who had been injured, and were having serious issues with skin issues, like bed sores, and
right.
I knew there was a way to do it, and we got 22 average, suicidals a day, and that was for me a wake-up call. I said, surely, I hit rock bottom, but I had the right friends around me, and that happened to be a kid that wanted me to teach him how to play golf was one of the reasons. Secondly, it was a couple of colleagues that said, "Come on, let's get you out. You're going to just get sick in this place," and the roof's falling on my head, and video games are not the option. Definitely not 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. So I opted out I was forced out, let's put it that way, to give a golf lesson. And one thing led to another. Then it was, how the hell do we get these guys mobile? Because it's all good getting us out there, but frustration is when you're sitting down trying to hit a golf ball. Unfortunately, that's all that was left, or available with these seated golf carts that are all over the country, and especially now that, they've even been given an official name, an adapted golf cart, which is for a person that's in a wheelchair and cannot use his legs, impossible as far as, well, not impossible, but
right.
It's really, really difficult and clumsy and frustrating. It's frustrating enough trying to hit a golf ball when everything works, let alone when you have a disability. And unfortunately, for all those wheelchair people that might be listening out there, it is the most difficult, frustrating sport in the world for wheelchair users. There's no sport more frustrating, and I'll tell you that right and honestly now. But that's just the game, but not the golf as such. Hitting a golf ball can get rid of a lot of frustrations that needed. Vital organs will be also helped in the standing, reducing the bed sore issues through blood flow, circulation, pressure relief, putting pressure on the bones, which will stop and prevent osteoporosis. Your digestive tract has all of a sudden space because you're now in an upright position and can then flow, which causes serious issues later on. I was actually made aware by a pediatric that he said an average kid between the age of 10 and 20 goes through about a dozen unnecessary operations because they don't stand enough. Can you believe that? And I just said, come on.
Wow.
I thought he was trying to, jack around with me, and it wasn't. He was actually quite serious. He said, the problem is they don't stand. They do all these amazing sports that they offer us, wheelchair, basketball, tennis, you name it, they do it, but they do it sitting down.
Right.
So I said, surely, you give him a putter, give him a chip. You don't have to hit the ball, 150 to 250 or 300 yards to have fun. And so we did a little trial, and we took a standing chair, strapped that to a construction that I wouldn't exactly try in America because could have thought of being sued if something happened. We did this all out
Right.
of the American lawyers level. And after, a lot of trial and falls and errors, and I never broke anything, but they weren't ideal, what was available. And we came up, as I said, with the new Stand Up and Play Foundation was formed because these machines cost us a lot of money. But thanks to the generous opportunities of the corporates around, which we'll go into later on, this has been made possible. And, the veterans themselves, since the First World War, they've actually used for the officers golf as a therapeutic way of rehabilitation. And the Second World War, the NCOs were then obviously opened up with the door in the spinal unit, as not as much, but for more the amputees. And an amazing breakthrough they had, that they had the camaraderie in the green environment out of the hospital clinical environment. It was an ideal, almost a solution to medication. It was probably more important than the actual medication they were having to take, because they were mind and body and soul were wanting to get better.
Right.
Like myself, I was only really, once I had a mission again in my life, I didn't want to kill myself anymore. And if it wasn't for the game of golf, I don't think I'd be here today. And I can tell you that as, and I quote many a happy golfer out there today in the last 25 years that I've been doing this. Actually, I've done it prior to being in a wheelchair myself, but I've been helping guys with like amputees and that. And they also
Sure.
said, they live for their golf. And I've got a guy now, he's in a wheelchair. He said, Anthony, you take my golf clubs away, I'll kill myself tomorrow. That's just as blunt as, because we do talk pretty straightforward, where we come from. And
right.
There's nothing like a frustrated, we're going to have medical problems even though we do the right things, even though we are on the right diet. And it was really interesting listening to your speakers before, because that's actually one of the, I'd say 55% of our recovery is through explaining how to carry on your life. And that is, one is, yes, get flexible. Two, you got to watch out what you eat, because a wheelchair, obviously you're not burning as much energy as
Sure.
you would be, even though you might be in a certain sport. But a lot of the time the wheelchair doesn't burn as much energy as a healthy person that can run around. So from the logic, yes, diet is so important, but also it helps prevent the bed sore issues as well. So a lot of nutrition, fluids, and watch your weight. And I think golf is a perfect way of doing this, because you don't have to be 100% fit to still start doing. It's like you baby steps. You learn to crawl, then you learn
Right.
to walk, and then run in the case. Obviously, it'll never happen with us, but we do run in the form of getting out there and playing 18 holes. My first game of golf, I can't remember how long it took me. It took me more than 2-3 years to even try and do 18 holes. But what I did do is I hit a couple of bucket of balls, and I did, maybe I spent a few hours chipping and pitching, and that even took a long time to get to that level because of my injuries. And that's where, the game of golf is so powerful.
Let me ask you, let me just say first off, kudos to you, Anthony, for not only creating this organization to reach out and help others that are meeting some of the same struggles that you have met, and really giving back to a lot of people, but also recognizing the value of golf. I've played golf since I was, that old saying, knee high to a grasshopper, and I've taught golf now for many, many years. And I want to talk to you about something here in just a second. But what I want to say is I had a cousin of mine. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but had a work-related injury. He was not. He didn't serve in the military, but he had a work-related injury where he lost from his right arm, the elbow down, and became, of course, an amputee. And I remember him saying those very words. There was a long, long time. Shortly, and he played, of course, he was a golfer for most of his life. He played golf. And when that accident happened, he had many of the same thoughts, I'm sure, that both yourself and many of the others that you deal with through the organizations, really almost became suicidal because he thought, well, what am I going to do? Where's my life going to go? And, again, he had a good group of friends around him that encouraged him and said, his name was Walt, and he said, Walt, you can still play golf. You might have to make some changes and you might have to make some adjustments, but you can still go out. And he said that really kept him going for so long. I mean, he obviously had, family and things like that, but he said that when he had the prospect of having to give up something that he loved and enjoyed every day of his life, that was really difficult. So, golf gave so much back to him over the years. And I want to ask you, from a perspective from somebody in the industry, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, and I'm going to have somebody else, and I know you know her, Gianna Rojas, who has her own limitations, and we'll talk about that when she comes on the show here in next week. She's going to be on the show. But the reason why I want to do that is, and I didn't realize that the numbers, and I don't have them in front of me here, but it was amazing the numbers here in the United States of individuals that have some disadvantage, whether it be in your case where you have lost the use of a lot of your body, or somebody that may just, again, as my cousin was an amputee, that there's really not much of an outreach within the golf industry, and it's almost like maybe they don't know how to deal with that. How can an organization such as yourself and somebody who has dealt with some of the issues that you have, how can you pair up with the golf industry and say, hey, here's an opportunity to literally address millions of people here in the United States that have difficult situations that they're dealing with physically? How can the golf industry and organizations such as yourself work together to do some of the great things that you're doing?
I think you mentioned the word together and work together. I think that's the first challenge, and everyone has their own agenda, unfortunately. And we experience it every day in politics.
Right.
And there's no, we're not going to get there. But sport.
No, we're not going to go. This is a golf show, so we can't go there tonight.
This is Nelson Mandela, who was my idol, especially where I came from. He once said, "Sport has the power to change the world." I was very, very fortunate to meet him. In fact, twice. Through the Special Olympics, one golf program that I started for the mentally, how they call it, learning disabilities, Special Olympics. And we met, and when he mentioned that, I said, sir, I'm going to actually go one better. Golf is a little bit better because it makes you have to move, because the ball is just lying there and you're going to want to hit it. And I think that was something, when we spoke about it, I couldn't play football or rugby or soccer, whatever you name you want to use, but I can play golf. And I was able to get to the level where the disability had not one thing. The only reason for me to be out there was I had to have a full battery and some air in the tires compared to my buddy, because, he could walk. If the golf cart didn't work, I would be then left stranded. And he'd try and take the money then and say, well, you didn't finish, so it's a DQ. But even Sevi, God bless him, Sevi Balacera said, well, one good thing is if you really get too far ahead, I'll just let the air out your tires. We just get back to being about a sportsmanship. But, I could take out my fellow colleagues off the same tee box. It took me many years to do that, though. But it was probably, for me, the biggest self-esteem and level or challenge that I just said one day, I just want to beat a professional scratch level player. They were playing, they were teaching professional, so they don't play every day. So I had a little bit of advantage than take on. But I shot level par off the back tees, and I think that was the first time ever I said, wow, okay, I must be honest, I haven't done that again. But I really haven't, that hasn't been my mission. It hasn't been my aim, because I was able to say fair and square, and by the way, no, we didn't bump the ball, and no, we didn't get a second chance because I was, in a wheelchair, or, I had a spasm and I, hit a bad shot. Come hit it again, you have a mulligan. We played the rules of golf. Although that is not what I promote nowadays. And I actually emphasize, don't try playing the rules of golf out of a wheelchair, especially the first couple of years, because you will not like it. They're made for to make the game more difficult, as it is. But you've got to be able to be very flexible and be able to get it, with one leg up and one leg down. We've got gravity. That's obviously going to be a limit. We are limited to certain levels and gradients. And yes, I can't swim and I can't fly. So, if we're on a side hill bunker or a putt bunker, we can get in, but we can't get out.
Right.
The restrictions are going to be there. But one thing about the game of golf that gave me this ability to, the ball is standing there and we've got to hit it. As you said, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't force them to drink. Well, likewise with the game of golf and a guy in a wheelchair. But the problem is right now we don't even have the water in 80% because there are about 10% of the community are able, or let's put it this way, have some sort of a disability. Now that in numbers, if you look at your numbers, I'm not going to do the maths here, there's millions of people out there that are potential golfers. They just haven't been given the opportunity, or the local pro or the local golf course needs to do a little bit. Now, PGA Hope have done a great job, starting with disabled or let's put it this way, physically challenged or people with hidden disabilities like our PTS guys who have a great success in teaching and getting the brothers out there and hitting some balls and taking them on the course. This green, beautiful environment. I mean, even if you have a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and we're not going to go anywhere, even they find their peace on a golf course.
Right.
But it does have that mental, but also that healing effect that no medicine in the world can offer that. And yes, if you want to be frustrated, and you are frustrated, you take the frustration out on a ball on a driving range. Don't expect it to fly as good, but you'll be sometimes very surprised. Depending, it might be your longest drive.
Let me say this, Anthony. There's plenty of golfers that don't have some of the same physical challenges that you or others that you're talking about have, that can't hit it down the fairway straight and that. So they have their own challenges. Let me just add this about golf, and you're exactly right. And I think one of the reasons why so many people that enjoy golf gravitate to it is because it mimics life in so many ways, and like no other sport. And I'll give you an example. You're met with various challenges out in a golf course, whether, as you pointed out, hitting in a bunker or into the rough or whatever the case may be, or on a downhill or side hill lie. And you have to come up with a solution to that particular problem in order to be successful on your next shot. And much the same in life, you get different challenges and struggles. And I think what you're about here and what you're talking about here tonight on the show is you've discovered a way with your own life to overcome some of the challenges that you've been faced with, and you've used golf as a vessel or tool to help educate those out there and saying, hey, just because you're A, B, or C doesn't mean you can't still go out and live like everybody else. Yes, you might have to make modifications. Yes, you might have to make some changes depending on the challenges that you may be faced with, but that's part of life. And by giving some of these individuals that you've talked about here tonight that ability to challenge themselves and also at the same time have some fun with their life, I think takes away a lot of the pressures that they're feeling day in, day out. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And, I'll go one step further, and that is you're giving people almost like an escape for a few hours. Even if it's just an hour on a driving range, if they have more time, it's going to just do them better. Because one thing we do have, unfortunately, is too much time to sit around, literally and figuratively, and think. Sure. And that's where the problems start. So golf, you go and hit that ball, and you forget about the pains and the aches, and you see that ball, maybe one in out of bucket of balls flies. That's the one you want to then go and get a second bucket and try and do again. And I think that's where not only because you're standing up and down, up and down, up and down, that movement, you don't move it, you lose it. The old saying. And there's so many of these pieces that you can take out of the game. I found it because I found myself, I had another mission to overcome my issues, but it kept me within. I'd love to play a lot more, but obviously I'm more of I'll stay on a driving range, and I'll go and do some skeet and trap shooting. It actually helps my shooting, by the way. It keeps the rhythm. But it also, I developed core strength, and I rejuvenated nerves that shouldn't have done been rejuvenated because through the medical side is the axons and the stimulation of the nerves. And it wasn't never severed; it was just compressed. I had, maybe a prayer or two, but a stem cell, research worked. I've been given a blessing, and I can move things that I shouldn't move today.
Right.
And I'm not guaranteeing that that's going to help it, but we do know if you sit around, you're going to have other problems. And you will definitely, when that ball flies left and right, it's like, or when you're playing match play, you have a good day, a bad day, good hole, bad hole. And that's how I take literally my game to the way I try and live my life. And today's going to be a good day. I think positive. I'm always thinking positive, I must be honest. And everyone says, I don't know how you do it. It's because I know if you don't think positive, you're not going to make it back home. And that's obviously the military training. And you've got a lot of really quality guys out there and gals out there that have had, some serious knock. And yes, mankind wasn't made to go to war. And back in the atrocities. And some people, obviously, there's all this about issue that we have had. And I think the game of golf has proven to be number one, definitely one of the top rehabilitation tools. And that's why the VA are so active, and they're actually financing certain programs. Unfortunately, they're not financing or helping buy us these special wheelchairs. That's, dealing with the VA, that can just take a few years. But if there's anybody out there, put pressure on your local. But, and let them say, we need these chairs out there. And the Sandeman play was formed because I couldn't do it all myself and my friends that are around us. We are 100%, volunteers. Every dollar goes towards getting the chairs. And thanks to the Stars for Heroes, Hardy's, Carl's Jr., we've managed to buy last year over 50 chairs. And with the Independence Fund, you probably know the Bill O'Reilly program, and he helps a lot.
Yes, I do.
This guy's been unbelievable and does put a lot of money towards each chair. And the rest we find. And, as I said, the Stars for Heroes guys, they have an amazing, without them, we would not have started. You might know of a Carl's Jr. burger and a Carl's and a Hardy's burger, but these guys have actually turned a lot of lives thanks to these guys. And, they do a big event once a year where you go and donate $1 and you get, I think, $9.50 worth of coupons. So you're actually not losing anything. You're actually gaining, and that dollar goes straight to our cause. And that's something, look on our website. It's coming in May, I think. So please go to your local and help. Because, by the way, we use our chairs to give back to the civilians, because we're giving back in that sense because we share our chairs. So one fits all. And that's a great thing. A kid of 3'2" to a grown kid of 6'4" can use the same chair within literally a minute. You'll adjust it to fit them perfectly, which there's no other unit out there in the world that can do that. And I just think it's a number game, and if we can get the numbers up, just natural the price is going to go down. And that's the thing with medical equipment. There's certain lawyers and laws that have to be passed, and they put the price up, and insurance costs. But we can get this chair half the price if we can get every golf course in America to chip in and get one. It's going to be cheaper than a normal golf cart. That's just a fact.
Well, one of the things too, and well said. One of the things that we talked about earlier is that, and again, I know Gianna did send me some stats, and I don't happen to have them in front of me, but there are literally millions of people out there even just here in the United States, forgetting around the world, but here in the United States, literally millions of people. And I think people would be shocked at just how many individuals that are dealing with different challenges, of various levels. And I know that, we're focusing here.
Just to start there, we start with 1,000 veterans, and we've got 1,500 paralyzed people every month. I think there you can have a percentage go from there, which is a potential golfer. From a business standpoint, everyone's going to need a couple of sticks if it's a half set. They don't necessarily need all the golf shoes because some of them are missing legs. But it's part of the industry, and it's growing. Golf we've got to find a way to grow the game. And I know that we've done it over the years. We've got about 1,000 new golfers because every golfer comes with at least one, if not two, friends, family members, or girlfriends to the game. And we were able to, have a great story of a young man, 65 years of age, was a police chief down in Fort Myers, lives down in Fort Myers now, and retired, and he had severe MS, which basically bought this, his retirement house, everything on this beautiful Legends golf course down in Fort Myers, and ended up having to sit and watch his buddies go by his front door on the one fairway. And thanks to the PGA show, one of the guys invited him to come along, and we, 10 years ago, bumped into each other by chance. And, well, now he's one of the most popular golfers out there. He also, thanks to the Legends Golf Course, they've actually done several golf tournaments on Veterans Day, and we bought at least 4 or 5 chairs from those events. And that's typical. And he said, buddies realized that they were feeling bad and guilty just to go and play golf because they hoped he wouldn't see them go past. And now he even wins the tournaments. He even wins the men's day, and they don't give him any. He plays a teed up forward because he's over 70 now.
Right.
And but he plays the game as the rules. He's actually good enough to even play the ball as it lies without having to bump it. And he goes and he's actually won a men's day event and helped many of others in a similar situation with the stroke survivors. Because that's also, we haven't even touched them. They were golfers prior, some of them, but we've also working with the Heart of Stroke Association, and they're using golf as a rehab tool. We're in several hospitals around the country where we've donated wheelchairs where they actually use golf as one of their major medical rehab, you go to a rec therapist. Well, she'll go and spend an hour doing golf with you, and she gets paid for doing it.
Wow. But you're right. There's so many different areas that, the list goes on of potential. And I think what it is, and this is just my opinion, I don't know if this is accurate or not. I think part of the reason that there hasn't been as much, outpour from within the golf community, because as you mentioned earlier, and as I know from being in the industry, that golf does give back so much. But I think it's a lack of education and understanding just how big of an issue this really is and how many people are affected, again, at various levels, across the nation. And I think it's really awareness. And organizations like you talked about earlier, and, of course, Bill O'Reilly talks about helping the veterans as well with the chairs and so forth, and your organization as well. And I think it's just getting that word out there. I think, it's a slow go, unfortunately, when something like this is coming to light. But I think if the golf industry just realized, as you pointed out, wanting to grow the game, there are literally millions and millions of opportunities to grow the game in a whole different area that they never did before. So, this is, again, a reason why I wanted to have you on the show is, obviously I knew that there are people out there, veterans and others, that have different limitations, but not to the degree that I've uncovered here over the last, few months, researching yourself and obviously Gianna as well. There are literally millions of people out there that fall within this category, and I think, as you said earlier, the golf industry has a perfect opportunity to really reach out to that community.
I think they haven't. There's also a lot of fear, or just because, you're right, uneducated. They all think, first of all, what, you're allowed to go on the greens? Well, who mowed the greens today, brother? He didn't do it with a hand scissors, believe you me. And and by the way, for those people that are worried about it, if it is rainy and it is too wet, we do not play golf because, number one, it's difficult enough on a dry day. Secondly, when you're sitting in a chair and driving the chair you don't want to play, and we do not go on the greens. I've actually had guys that play tournaments and they said, listen, the greens are too wet today. I'm going to stay off the greens and my buddy's going to putt for me. They're playing scrambles anyway, mostly.
Sure.
99.9% of our guys will play a scramble game of golf. They're not going to slow anybody down. And I played with Gary Player and the First L Band. I was very fortunate, in Monaco. And we can you just drive over my putt line, please, Anthony? Because I flattened all the spike marks. So you want me in your 4-ball, by the way. I think it's the first game of golf you ever play without a spike mark on the line. But those are things that you can actually benefit by having a guy in a wheelchair. And by the way, I've been very gifted, and I've been given my mobility. Well, I didn't do it sitting around, I'll be honest with you. I did just try and hit a golf ball, and to do that I had to move, and I had to do my exercises. And that the exercise stick that my colleague prior to me being on the show was speaking about is a great tool, not only for wheelchair, but it actually is. And I think I sent you some pictures. I think later on you can probably put on your website, or they can go to our website, standupandplay.org, and see that the game, to hit a golf ball, we need to be flexible, or more flexible than we are. And the more flexible we are, the further we hit it, and the more regular we hit it good. So you guys out there, they've got no reason not to do a stretch. Go and stretch, and you'll find your rhythm. You'll find your consistency will be a lot more better just by being fit and flexible. Because it's not only the brain that needs to be fit, the body has to be fit as well. And I can hit the ball now, thank goodness, well over 300 yards if I had to. Thanks to my, I think walking on my arms 25 years now. you join the Royal Marines, you get big arms, wide shoulders, especially if you're in a wheelchair for 25.
Let me ask you, Anthony, from the teaching side of things. I saw from some of the photos that obviously you're trying to help a lot of individuals again who are met with some of the challenges that you have. From a teaching professional standpoint, obviously this is not something that's traditionally in our wheelhouse. Is there an opportunity here as well from the teaching side of things to maybe get in front of organizations like the LPGA and the PGA of America and saying, here's a real opportunity to not only grow the game, but to maybe educate on how to handle situations where you're dealing with somebody that maybe has some challenges that's out of their traditional wheelhouse of teaching. Is there a teaching opportunity, in other words, for the teachers to be able to learn maybe a different way of instructing, or to help them in their instruction so that they can work with students that maybe do have some physical limitations?
I'm glad you also mentioned, because recently, even Gianna, we helped her with she put a group of teaching guys together. We went down to Myrtle Beach, and we brought some machines down, and we gave the opportunity. I think Dave Windsor, who does teach disabled golf or challenge golf for the PGA, and we showed them how they can teach better golf and how to use the machine properly, because that's one of the things we do. And we offer courses. That's what Stand and Play does. And no, it's not like teaching a normal golfer. Sure. There are very important things that need, because if you double amputee, bilateral,
sure,
below the above the knee, and then there's also paraplegic, quadriplegic, hemiplegic, which is the one side, it's like a stroke survivor.
Right.
They all need individual lessons. It doesn't take long, though. People don't have to be scared. And the great thing about, and I've done this for, as I said, for longer than 25 years now, and I've been very, humbled as well. But also, I've had top professionals come to me and say, Anthony, I've been teaching golf for 30, 40 years, and I now know why I'm a teacher. And thank you for giving them that opportunity to teach somebody with a disability. It just opens up a whole new way of thinking, and it makes it interesting. And there's some monotonous, grip, posture, setup. Now it's obviously a lot to do with fitness and all the, the high tech you can use. But it's also the mental and the how you say, the personal, the love for the game, how it can also totally change that whole family that are having issues with the disability. And now from all of a sudden little Mary or Johnny can go and, be himself, and he's not the disabled kid in the family. It's his older brother who can't hit the ball for squat. And he's showing him how to hit a golf ball. And all of a sudden, okay, he might have to go and get it out of a water hazard or a pot bunker. That's where he can use him again, but he's not going to be, now everything revolves around little Johnny or Mary in the wheelchair, because that's where these other kids have issues. So they can go out there and be themselves and their disability and be as far as the teacher is concerned, he's bringing that all back together and showing them how they can, get back to normal life within, reason. And the game just gives that opportunity. But teaching, special grip, if you've got, all your fingers. I mean, I've got several colleagues who've lost a hand or parts of their hand. And at the end of the day, the great thing about the game is it's all about, geometry, physics, as well. And then obviously you've got to have someone you can communicate and with feeling. And no, it's not just. And I was very fortunate, David Ledbetter and all the golfing greats and Hank Haney. I've all had time to have a chat, an opportunity as well. And it's really, there are more ways to hit a golf ball than one. I mean, just watch, so many of these guys, execute a golf swing with one arm in a wheelchair, no legs in a wheelchair. I hit the ball, I said, well over. I've got a club head speed over 119 miles an hour when I'm really hitting it. I mean, Dean Jarvis does the long drive, para long drive, and there we were able to demonstrate hitting the ball, 305 yards with a standard driver, and that is, something I think goes to show just how great, or the technique that could be used. Sometimes it's not the golf club, and yes, it is the golf club, and yes, it is the wrong golf cart. So you can't blame your tools. The Indians are allowed to blame the arrow. Yes, go to your local club fitter. I was just at TaylorMade the other day with a Marine that has been in a wheelchair now almost 25 years, 30 years, and he's taken up the game of golf, and he's got his chair, and he wasn't having any fun, and they took him in, the Kingdom there in Carlsbad. And I was invited to, bring a chair, and so he could really, get a proper fitting. And, it was amazing how this kid, I say kid, it's a fellow Marine, could actually, he grew 6 inches taller after hitting that drive that they made for him, with the right shaft and the right loft. Within minutes, he was hitting the ball 50 yards further. And that's the great thing about the game, using the right equipment, the right teaching. And yes, the teaching needs to be taught. And that's the great thing. You're not sort of bored. I'm just teaching the same thing. Like we call them the barflies in Germany about 25 years ago. We call them the barflies. All these old English pros came over there, and they were paying 100 Deutschmarks an hour for 40 minutes teaching, because every German had to learn how to hit a golf ball before he even was allowed to even go on a golf course, because they had to get a green card. And these guys are making 1,000 Deutschmarks a day, and then sucking on a Mars ball. And earning that stuff is serious. And these guys were earning $30,000, probably about $25,000 or $20,000 a month, just teaching Germans how to hit a golf ball, but not teaching them. You know what I'm saying? Showing them how to hit a ball. Right. Put your hand, and this is the great thing about the game of golf. Now we are teaching them how to play the game with their extreme disability and changing lives.
Yeah, and that's fantastic, and that's what I'm saying is so important. There's really such a great opportunity here for the industry to really reach out and not just to recognize that the potential, but just to also create an opening or an avenue for so many people out there that would love to come to the game. I mean, there's already enough roadblocks as there is with, and some of them have certainly doors have been opened over the years, but for years women were restricted to the tee times, certain times of the day. Some clubs would not allow women and so forth. But now you've got an opportunity. Right, exactly. So now you've got an opportunity where you've got a whole different demographic out there of individuals, again, whether they were injured personally, an auto accident or what have you, or military dealings, or somebody that was even born with some sort of a deficiency. They don't have to look at it that way any longer. And you've very successfully have taken golf that next level and said, hey, we can play golf with a few, as I said earlier, a few modifications. We can open a door for people that maybe didn't have that opportunity before. And again, it's unfortunately a slow process sometimes with any sort of change. But I think if you keep doing what you're doing, Anthony, and others within that community, and the rest of us as well, engage, I think that it'll move much more rapidly. I want to switch gears just here. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to mention something very recently at the last Honda. Tommy Morrissey. This little kid, I've had the fortunate honor to meet him and his family, amazing family, what they're doing for him and what he's doing for the game and helping other kids and motivate other families that have issues with their kids missing limbs. And he's now taken on the challenge to also help get kids in wheelchairs by doing his promotion there at the Honda Classic. He took on every golf pro on the 18th hole, I think, at the Honda, and 100 yards short of the green. He took them on and made the awareness. And this kid is, absolutely the perfect example how things can be done and how exposed to, if you just give the chance, the ability, not the disability. And I think that so many people out there don't realize, and golf courses don't realize their ability to get involved. And I'm afraid their disability golf carts, that's the reason they've been sitting in the for the last 10 years, because they weren't the proper carts. And people have, I've come up with that so many times. Oh, well, we've had this for 10 years, no one's used it. It just costs us money. And we're saying, well, it doesn't have to cost you money. We can help you raise the money through the foundations and through the local, public. They would like to help, but you've got to obviously offer them and give them the opportunity. Open up that door. The golf pros. I've got, even in our team, a PGA pro who has serious MS, and that is Greg Jacobson, known as Jake, up in Connecticut, who is in a chair himself and giving golf lessons now, thanks to, the Stand Up and Play Foundation. And he's got his local golf course to get one, and they actually, helped finance or pay for one. But it's just the beginning, and yes, you're right. Give the people the opportunity, open up the door. The PGA have been very, careful and scared initially. They have softened up, and we're open to anything that they would like to suggest. We're there for them. We've got a team from the East Coast, the West Coast. We've got 700 golf wheelchairs out there right now that are in private hands, but they're prepared to share. I think it's almost like 180 right now. But it's taken me 10 years, unfortunately. Right. And it could easily be done. Our mission this year is 100. And, we did 58 last year, thanks to Hardy's and Independence Fund and Carl's Jr. But I'm pretty sure if the PGA get on board, the USGA, the LPGA, with the help of spreading, through your listeners, the Stand Up or United We Stand Challenge 2017, for your local hero, your local kid down the road that's in a wheelchair, the local golf school, we're there for you. I've got so many golf pros that are doing such good work out there, and we've managed to get them chairs. Just at Gianna, I think she's got a golf course where she lives in South Carolina. Darren DeMail has got another golf chair there, so he's got a chair to give people lessons. It can be done. You probably know my good old friend Rich O'Brien. Absolutely amazing. He's the perfect example how easy it can be done. They've got now four chairs in the area, thanks to the open how do we call it, work from our groups. Return to Golf. They've got 2 golf. Fairways for Warriors got several golf courses. Wedges and Woods. You go to our website, you can see all these guys that just said, "Hey, I'd like to get involved, but we can't afford a $30,000 wheelchair," or what they were going for in those days. We've got them down now in the 20s, but it's still too much. I'm looking to hope to cut that by half, and I know I can if we can get the right numbers ordered. But you've got so many Jim Estes from Salute Military Golf Association. He started with me many years ago, but it did take a little bit of time to get the wheelchairs, and now they got I don't know how many partners around the country. Fairways for Warriors, as I said, Tom Underdown, they are such a great group of guys that their hearts are open. Anybody who needs to try it out in Orlando, just go, call us and we'll open up that door. And we've got the VA in Orlando that we have a gentleman there that works for us as a volunteer. That's Roger Sack. He goes around with a big trailer. Thanks to Hardy's. I've got Hardy's all over it. Right. And has all these chairs filled up with them. And he'll take you. He'll meet you somewhere and show you how to play. it's just basically giving another veteran a reason to carry on wanting to live. And golf pros revamping their style and revamping their mission of why they're teaching, you know. And basically, you learn the good technique to teach your guy in a wheelchair. You'll teach your senior golfer how to hit his ball 20 to 30 yards further, by the way. And it's a lot more back-friendlier than some of these pros are teaching.
Right, and you're exactly right. That, you know, as a teaching professional, you always have to be willing to learn yourself. And, you know, there's a lot of great technology out there, and you know, many of us out there are familiar with some of the technology that's made available, but that's not the only thing. There's other skills and learning that we can utilize as well. And you've talked about one here tonight that by reaching out to a community that, you know, obviously has been for a long time has been passed by, but now is starting to come around and be made available. Let me we've only got a few minutes left before I have to unfortunately let you go. I'm really enjoying this conversation and listening to some of the things. Very quickly, tell us, what is the Kids Swing International?
All right, so basically it started with the kids. That was because the kid that got me going, and I ended up getting in wheelchairs. And then because we wanted to open it up for everybody because it was so powerful, and the tool, and trying to get some Marine that's been blown up and missing all his body and say, hey, come to a Kids Swing program. We said, well, you might be the same height as that kid. If that kid's taller than you, we'd better change the name. That's where Stand Up and Play was born. So, yes, it started in Europe, and we just basically, because the first swing was the, here in American, for people with amputees, they started the first swing clinic. So we did Kids Swing, it started actually initially in Germany, and then we moved it on to Stand Up and Play, just because it opens up for the children as well. But, and because we found that we just put it all under one 501c3, which is Stand Up and Play, which is now a national program. And we've got rec therapists, for instance, working with children, for instance, in Rhode Island, if I remember correctly. Buttonhole Golf Course, there's a whole bunch of rec therapists that take children out once a week and use that as a powerful tool. They spend half a day on a golf course. And they say they reach 10 times more effective results than they can indoors. So it does, it's such a great promotion for the game of golf, for what we're doing in the medical field. And as I said, I think a game of golf has changed from you can actually go in Germany to a doctor and get a prescription and go to your golf pro and he gets paid for giving him a golf lesson. I'm serious. That's not a joke. And that's how far it is. And the good thing here, even in America, they're doing it in the rehab hospitals. They're starts with putt-putt, and then they work their way backwards. And some of the top hospitals, they even got simulators, using that swing golf. And now, you got all the technology that is there with adapted, with the scopes and all that. But by the way, you'll see there's going to be a big article as well in the new, which actually is the Florida magazine, Ameri Disability Service magazines. They're going to have a nice big feature soon. And as we go, more and more local veterans who have received the chairs, they're in their local TV station, have also, somebody said, hey, you got to meet this guy, and they've done a nice little piece on them. So that way it has the Bush Telegraph, I used to call it, is the way of spreading it. And that way people can just contact standupandplay.org, and we will help them and find their local charity that's working together. The Tommy Morrissey Foundation, they're doing this now in Florida. Tom Underdown is doing very, very good work for with Stand Up and Play for the veterans. The VA down there is being by Roger Sack. So there's just so much in Florida. It just now needs, the Floridians, and obviously thanks to the Legends Golf Course, we've got 5 or 6 chairs now through the years, and every Veterans Day we do another tournament to buy another chair. It can be done, and just if everybody wants to get involved in the dollar, the good old dollar, throw a dollar in the right direction. Your dollar won't go to anybody's salary; it goes straight to getting a chair in the local area. Or corporates out there, if they want to put their logo on it, it's a perfect and a very safe way. Your money is going to a really good cause, and it's going to just make the game open and accessible. I believe we're talking right now with the Morrissey Foundation to do a couple more of those PGA events where we'll have some veterans showing what they can do, and Tommy's going to swing for vets, Tommy,
wow.
that type of thing. Because, everybody wants to do something good, and once you do it, you can really feel it, see it, and taste it almost. And any pro that wants to get involved, I can guarantee you'll come and thank me for offering you the opportunity. You won't be the first, because it just does change your way of thinking and way of teaching.
I agree wholeheartedly, and what a great way to end this segment. Anthony, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you for sharing that. And just for the folks tuning into the program now live, or those that will tune in a little bit later on and hear the recorded version, if you go to www.standupandplay.org, you can learn all kinds of things about that great organization that Anthony's been talking with me here for the last hour. And that's probably the best place, would you agree, Anthony, to send them, is to let them go to the website and see.
Absolutely. You'll also see, things like the motorless golf ball dispenser, something nobody ever thought about. But what about our senior golfers having to bend down? Half the time they don't do practice because it's too tiring and sometimes, sore. There's so much in the industry that are coming to the table to open up a door to make it even more accessible and more easier. These are all people that get together, and we're going to be putting them on our big screen, and together with Gianna and other groups that want to get involved, Disability Golf, they're all out there, but we've got to come together, and I think it's time now because, it's ready. The timing is everything in golf, and I think 2017, United We Stand is not going to just be our motto, and I'm really looking forward to anybody wanting to get involved. There's some really interesting programs as well as possibilities. And thank you so much for inviting me to the show, and without you guys, we can't help. That's all.
Well, not a problem. It was my pleasure, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Anthony, please let's stay in touch, and I'll do what I can to help on my end, and continue your cause and your journey in that. And just keep hitting them long and straight like that. I'm impressed. That's incredible. That puts a lot of people to shame. Well, then there's no excuse. That's the thing. There's no excuse out there. If Anthony can belt one down the chute like that in some of the challenges that you've had to face with, then the rest of us have no excuse. But Anthony, thank you very much. Sorry, go ahead.
So, I shoot straighter with a 50 cal as well, by the way, and a lot further.
Fantastic. Anthony, my friend, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. I appreciate it, and much continued success. And please keep me posted on what's happening. And like I said, feel free to reach out to me anytime if I can help in any way.
Lovely. And just tell anybody if they want to help their local golf pro or school to get a proper equipment, we are there to help.
Perfect. Go to www.standupandplay.org. And you can reach out to Anthony and take him up on that offer. And I would strongly encourage my fellow golf professionals to certainly do that. Help in any way that you can. Anthony, God bless, my friend. Have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That was my very special guest this evening, Anthony Netto, the founder of the Stand Up and Play Foundation, and what a great organization. And again, let me just quickly read out that website. It's www.standupandplay.org. Just a very inspirational story, and I was glad that he was able to come on. And you heard us mention a few times in the conversation about Gianna. She's going to be joining me next week on the Women of Golf show with Cindy Miller and I, and she's got her own story to share, and we'll have that next week on Tuesday. From 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And then she'll be coming back with a number of other guests a little bit later in, I believe, either late March or early April. She'll be coming back on the show here on Golf Talk Live with a group of guests that she's going to be bringing here, and we'll continue this conversation and talk about some of the different other areas that many of the adaptive golfers out there are struggling with, and how you the folks listening to the show can reach out and help. So again, on behalf of Anthony and the Coach's Corner panel, thanks guys again for doing a great job. John Hughes, Peter Egazarian, Tom Patri, and of course special guest panelist Brett Cohen. Thanks guys for doing an awesome job, and thank you to all of the listeners tuning in worldwide. Thank you for faithfully tuning into Golf Talk Live each and every week, and it's really gives me a great amount of pleasure and enjoyment of having a number of highly talented coaches, teacher professionals, authors, and entrepreneurs, and great folks like Anthony Netto that stop by the show. It's really through their participation and guest appearances that have helped make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. God bless, and I will see you next week right here on Golf Talk.